Ugh, my sensors show that Bajo and Hex are not in the building. This is outrageous. The show's begun. Where are they?
Welcome to Good Games Spawn Point, the show for younger gamers.
I'm Bajo.
And I'm Hex, and this week we're coming to you from the Gold Coast at a massive expo all about games.
Hex, I've just realised we haven't let Darren know that we're up here.
Oh.
I better give him a call.
Okay. It's a long number.
Hey, Darren.
Bajo, where are you? We're supposed to be on the air.
No, we are on air, Darren. We're just doing the show live from the Gold Coast.
Then stand by. I'll fly up immediately.
Yep. He wants to know if he can fly up with his rocket boots and take part.
Let me talk to him.
Right.
Darren.
Hello, Hex. I'm charging my rocket food.
No, we need you to stay and host the show by yourself. Do you think you can do that? You can do all the reviews and man the Ask Good Game desk?
Affirmative.
Okay, great.
Okay. And besides, Darren, we've checked, and there's absolutely no noobs here. Right, guys?
Guys!
Yeah, I think I saw one, but it's all right. I think he left. So, okay, cool. All right. Yep. Okay. Yeah, I know. All right. Gotta go. He's so hard to get off the phone. All right. Who wants to see some games?
Right, well, I'd better get on with my first review. Now, let's get everything in order here. Lots of room for this one. Oh, and I think this might help too. Stylish. Right, well, I shall now begin my review of Just Dance 3. The aim of the game is to follow the dance moves on the screen as accurately as possible to try and get a high score. And the Kinect does a pretty good job of recognising the player's body and detecting your dance moves. Just make sure you have plenty of space and aren't standing too close, as the Kinect does not function too well in small areas. The dancers appear on screen as fluorescent silhouettes, wearing a variety of unusual outfits. Overall, I liked the colourful art and design, and its quirky choreography.
We love it now. Everybody's waiting for the next surprise.
However, there isn't much in the way of a practice mode in the game, or a way to teach you the individual moves. You are simply expected to copy the dancer on screen to the best of your ability, over and over until you learn the dance well enough to perform it correctly. But how anyone could manage to perform a dance move like this without someone teaching you the finer points is simply ridiculous. Even on easy, some of the dancers in the game move far too quickly. I found myself struggling to keep up no matter how many times I retried. In Dance Central, for example, the dance is broken down into sections, and then each move is broken down as well. This is a far better teaching system in my experience. It resulted in me becoming a much better dancer. Unfortunately, in Just Dance 3, I often just feel like I'm flailing about, and the preview diagrams that are supposed to give you an idea of where the next move is going aren't very clear at all. One aspect of the game I did enjoy is its wonderfully varied track list. It combines modern hits from artists like Black Eyed Peas with older tracks like Crazy Little Thing Called Love by Queen. But my favourite track by far was Da Funk by electronic music magicians Daft Punk. Ooh, they're French. The dancers were dressed like robots, and the choreography was far superior to that of the other dancers in the game. I'm a French robot. I like to dance and sing a lot. Boom, boom. The ability to set up dance playlists, so you don't have to keep going back to the menu between tracks, is also very useful. The dances on offer range in difficulty, as well as listing the level of effort required. Some of them will have you jumping quite a bit and serve as a rather good form of exercise. If you created a playlist of purely upbeat tracks, one could use it as a way to get quite fit. And if you don't like dancing alone, Just Dance 3 can be played in multiplayer with up to 4 of you competing for the highest score. In addition to this, some of the dancers have more than one dancer on screen, performing different choreography for each player your troupe will follow. However, this only appears in a handful of songs, and I couldn't find any option to just perform those songs by myself, so it got a bit confusing on screen, and often I couldn't figure out which dancer I was supposed to follow.
Boy, you got me blinded.
Too many Britneys. Not to mention, this dance is silly enough with friends. Just imagine me performing it in my D.A.R.R.E.N cave all alone. How embarrassing. There are some variations to the game depending on which console you have. The Wii and PlayStation Move have a smart shuffle mode where certain rewards can be unlocked. The Wii version has a Hold My Hand mode in which up to 8 players can try and perform the dances by sharing the Wiimote with another player. This Kinect version has the Create mode, which lets you invent your own dance routines, which can be saved and shared with your friends online. Here is Hex's attempt. Oh dear. In conclusion, Just Dance 3 is one of the better dancing games available, but it's certainly not the best. They could and should have done a far better job of teaching you the dances, so I'm awarding this game 6 rubber chickens. Better give Bajo and Hex a call. I have concluded the review of Just Dance 3. What did you think?
Oh, great job with that review, Darren.
It was okay. It was okay work.
But we've got heaps of spawnings here who want to ask you questions, so you should hurry straight to the Ask Good Game desk.
Yeah.
Rightio, a robot's work is never done. Time to take some noobs to school. Right. Oh, they've left this place in a right state. Better get this cleaned up. There we go. Perfect. Right, now let's get to it, spawnlings. Activating satellite communications array. Bajo, Hex, I'm ready for the first question.
All right, Darren, it's question time. Now, what's your name?
Ben,
Ben, what's your question for Darren?
is Mario a Donkey Kong character or Donkey Kong a Mario character?
Good question.
Yeah, that's really deep.
Excellent question, Ben. Some would say that Mario is in fact a Donkey Kong character since the first game to feature him was the 1981 title, Donkey Kong. But it is also said that because Mario was the only playable character in that game, it was therefore a Mario game, making Donkey Kong a Mario character. I would suggest that both points of view are valid and that it's up to you, Ben, to form your own opinion.
Thanks, Darren.
You're welcome, Ben. Now, who's next?
Okay, Darren, we have another spawning here for you. What's your name?
Zane,
Zane, and what's your question for Darren?
what's your favourite Pokemon?
Well, Zane, that's easy. My favourite Pokemon is the Jigglypuff, since we both share a passion for singing. Lololololololol. Unlike a Jigglypuff, however, my singing is unlikely to put anyone to sleep. I hope that answers your question.
Thanks, Darren.
Don't mention it. Now I'm ready for another spawnling.
Okay, Darren, another question. What's your name?
Liam?
Liam, what's your question for Darren?
Darren, how do you feel about D.A.R.R.E.N leaving you for Robot University?
Hello, Liam. I was very proud that D.A.R.R.E.N was accepted into the Intergalactic Robot Academy. It's a very prestigious establishment that only accepts 3 robots each year from the entire galaxy. He's doing very well there, I might add. Luckily, our rocket boots mean that we're able to catch up quite often. He's been to all of my parties. Now there's an idea.
Thanks, Darren.
My pleasure, Liam. Who's next?
Okay, Darren, another question for you. What's your name?
Harrison.
And what's your question for Darren?
Well, in Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, how do you defeat King Dodongo?
Hello, Harrison. If you simply follow these steps, you'll defeat King Dodongo in no time. As the king prepares to use his fire breath, he'll open his mouth, leaving you with a perfect opportunity to throw a bomb down his throat. This will stun him, at which point you must attack his head. Then he rolls up into a ball and charges you, but you can avoid him by simply running up against a wall. Now repeat those steps a few times and victory shall be yours.
That was pretty swell, Darren.
Anytime, Harrison. Now, who's next?
What's your name? And William, what's your question?
How do you get the sock puppet in Sackboy?
Hello, William. To get the sock puppet in Little Big Planet, you need to ace the level called Subway. Unfortunately, we don't have time to show you a complete walkthrough, but to ace a level, you need to complete it without losing a single life. It can be tricky, but a little bit of patience and a good chunk of skill will see you through. Once you've aced it, the green sock puppet will be yours.
Thank you, Darren.
No problem, William.
Darren, we have another question lined up for you. And what's your name?
Lauren.
Lauren, and what's your question?
Darren, approximately how many noobs are there in the universe?
Ooh, it's a tough one.
Well, Lauren, by using what's called the Drake equation, we're able to find out how many civilizations exist in our galaxy, the Milky Way. Recent estimates put this number at 10 million. If we assume that each civilization is the same size as ours, then each would be home to about 7 billion individuals. If we then assume that most of them are noobs, this will bring the total number of noobs in the Milky Way to well over 7 quadrillion. Furthermore, I have calculated there to be 500 billion galaxies in our universe. This would bring the number of noobs in the entire universe to 3.5 nonillion.
Thanks, Darren.
Well, I can never turn down a good equation. Now, bring on the next spawnling.
And what's your name?
My name's Hadley.
Hadley, and what's your question for Darren?
Well, in Portal 2, I was wondering, how do you get past the 1970 Aperture Laboratories?
Well, Hadley, the 1970s laboratories are a large part of the Portal 2 campaign, so we don't have time to show you them all here, and besides, it'd spoil the challenge. But I can tell you how to find the elusive Portrait of a Lady, which will earn you a nice achievement. In the very first level of Chapter 7, just before exiting the level, you can see a catwalk and a wall, which you can put a portal on. Shoot a portal up there and place one on this wall. Once you go through your portal, follow the catwalk until you find this office. In there you can see this painting of Cave Johnson with his assistant Caroline, but we know her by a different name, don't we, spawnlings?
Thanks, Darren. Now, that was pretty snazzy.
Well, you're very welcome, Hadley. What a polite spawnling.
Okay, Darren, we've got another spawnling here for you. What's your name?
Josh.
And what's your question for Darren?
What happens when you get all 6 sages on Pokemon White?
Well, Josh, technically there are 7 sages. However, you shouldn't get your hopes up for anything special to happen once you find them all, because nothing happens. It's simply something extra to do once you've finished the game.
Thanks, Darren.
Oh, you're too kind.
Okay, Darren, we've got time for just one more question. What's your name?
Harry.
Harry, what's your question for Darren?
In Minecraft, is it possible for a zombie pigman to spawn outside of the Nether?
Well, Harry, it is possible to find a zombie pigman outside the Nether in the overworld, but they don't technically spawn there. For a zombie pigman to exist in the overworld, a pig needs to be unfortunate enough to be struck by lightning. It's very rare for this to happen. I've never found one, but if you venture out after a storm, you might be lucky, or should I say unlucky enough, to run into one.
Thanks, Darren.
Hey, great work, Darren. Well, you better get on with another review.
Yeah, get back to work, Darren.
Oh, all right. Right, back to the reviews. Right, what's next? Review. Game review. Right, Once Upon a Monster. Once Upon a Monster stars the Cookie Monster and Elmo. We soon learn that Elmo doesn't know how to read yet. So his friend Cookie Monster decides to help him by showing him a book that he enjoyed way back when he couldn't read either.
Oh, me read it long time ago, but me still remember a book like back of me hand. Oh, looky there. Cookie Crumb.
As it turns out, Once Upon a Monster is a magical book. Cookie Monster and Elmo journey into the worlds inside, where the laws of the universe serve more as recommended guidelines. They meet new friends and help them solve their problems.
Wow! Now this is how me remember party.
Unlike a real book, there isn't really any reading. Instead, the Kinect sensor monitors the kinetic energy of your movements as you perform simple tasks along with the Muppets on screen. For instance, in one chapter, we meet a monster called Shelby, whose garden is full of trash. Then Oscar the Grouch shows up, loudly declaring just how much he loves the rotting muck.
Did someone say trash?
Oscar!
A solution soon presents itself. Scoop up balls of filth and hurl them into the bins provided. A simple enough idea, but messy in practice. Getting the force of your shot right is a finicky matter. I had no trouble at all, of course, but a young human will find most of their shots overshooting or falling short, as we can see here in this, simulated footage.
Whoops. Throw a little harder next time.
Less skillful players need not feel discouraged, however. You can progress even if you score badly, and the game has helpful words of encouragement. Never scorn.
Next time, don't throw so hard.
There was another, more serious problem with this section. Note how the balls are red and green. Almost 1 in 20 humans has a condition called colour blindness, where they have trouble telling green and red apart. The programmers could have just as easily made those trash balls blue and yellow, or pink and brown, but no, red and green.
I was glad the yucky trash is gone.
Also, note this sequence where Marco, a monster who wears an astronaut's helmet, blows out the candles on his birthday cake. It makes no sense. That visor would block his breath completely. Inconsistencies such as this destroy the illusion.
Bring cookies. No cookies, huh? Me could go for a glass of milk.
The animation of our Muppet monster friends looks a little off at times, but overall the presentation is quite agreeable. All smiles and bright, friendly colours. Problems exist, however. Even if you're standing at the correct distance and doing everything you're supposed to do, it's a challenge just to get the game to recognise your movements. I'm doing it exactly right, and it's just not reading me properly. Oh dear. Even something as simple as turning a page can become an ordeal. Oh, come on, I'm totally doing it. The game also comes with a thin rubber strip that's meant to be laid out on the ground in front of the telly. It doesn't do anything, it's just there to remind noobs to keep their distance. Oh, I was doing it completely right and the Kinect just couldn't see it. Technical glitch. Technical glitch. I'll have to calibrate it, fine-tune it or something. Ultimately, Once Upon a Monster does not have a lot of content. Just 6 simple stories made up of simple mini-games. It's clear that this game is designed for the very young. Older gamers will get nothing from the simple puzzles and will find the disco dancing tiring.
Oh yeah, okay, me like this one better now.
But for the youngest of spawnlings, this will be like a favourite picture book. One to be read and reread, again and again. 7 rubber chickens. Ring, 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 ring.
Hello?
Bajo, Hex, I have concluded my review.
Well, Darren, I'm not quite sure I agree with your score, but a good job on the review anyway, and we've got to go play some games.
Well, have fun. Bye.
Yeah.
Fun. Maybe I could have some fun of my own.
What you up to?
Well, I'm just checking out a couple of games. What about you guys?
That's what we've been doing. We're having a great day.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm still kind of playing though, so...
Oh,
okay.
sorry. We'll go find some days of our own.
Unlike other big expos like E3, which are held exclusively for the press, here on the Gold Coast, the doors are open for everyone to come in and get their hands on some of the latest games and tech. for the whole game now. Expos like this aren't just about the games. It's also a great chance for gamers to meet up, dress up, and share their love for all things gaming. So guys, what do you think? Has it been any fun?
Yeah, it's been excellent.
Yeah.
There's loads of stuff to do. There's plenty of walking around to do.
And what would you recommend to anyone who's thinking about dressing up? I've seen some guys in some really hefty outfits. They didn't look like they could last the whole day. What would be your advice to anyone thinking about doing the same?
Got an air conditioning system in there.
Well, I have to say I was very impressed with all the questions from the Spawlings this week. It was great to meet all of you. Did you have a good time? Yeah!
Well, that's all the time we have for this week, but we shall return next week, of course, with more reviews and more shenanigans.
We should make sure that Darren hasn't messed up the studio.
Let's go!
Thanks for coming home for the weekend, Dirk.
I've never missed one of your parties, Darren.
Affirmative. Entering party mode.
Entering party mode.
Boogie, 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 boogie.
Boogie, 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 boogie.
Boogie, 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 boogie.